It's that time to thank our sponsors, and we're going to run down this list. We're going to talk about the Fat Boy app, the locally owned mom and pop restaurant locator. Listen, if you're tired of eating from those chain restaurants and you want a mom and pop restaurant, download the Fat Boy app and become a dining diva or a fat boy today. Hey, go to their website at www.fatboyapp.com. Check it out. You get perks for becoming a dining diva or a fat boy. You're traveling this summer and you want somewhere local to eat that's not a chain restaurant, you're going to need this app. This app's going to guide you to where you want to go to that good food. So download them today, available on Android and iOS. That's the Fatboy app. Become a dining diva and fat boy today. Stephen Watson at Watson's Transmission, he is your go-to guy. We got to thank him, man. He's your go-to guy for transmission work. And I'm telling you, if my transmission ever goes out, I'm going to Stephen. I don't know what else to do. I'm going to go to Stephen and be like, hey, Stephen, do your magic, work your magic on this transmission because he can bring them back to life. If he can't fix it, then it's really broken. He's going to get you another one. So check out Stephen Watson at Watson's Transmissions. Ironstein Coffee there in Morganfield, Kentucky. You want some hometown brewed coffee, hometown roasted coffee beans there in Morganfield, Kentucky. My favorite's the Miner. I like that dark roast. I like it dark, good old dark strong coffee is what I like. That's my favorite. So go check out Jerry and his buddy there at Ironstein Coffee in Morganfield. And while you're there, slip on in to Jen's General Store. Check her out. Hey, I went in there today to get a haircut from Jerry, and I walked through Jen's, and they got a little pathway. It's like the Candyland board is what it looks like. And it just kind of took me back. And there's candies, and there's drinks, and there's man, they do milkshakes and sandwiches, and it's so cool. There's so many things in there to check out. A lot of local items. I think there's some local honey in there from a feller there that lives in the county. So there's all kinds of things there at Jen's General Store. Go back in time to when you were a kid, especially us Gen Xers, man. There's all kinds of our candies in there. I love going in there. Every time I go in there, it's just you feel welcomed and you're taking a trip back in time. So check out Jen's General Store. Wolf's Customs, that's Jake Wolf in Waverly, has got you covered this summer. You need a radiator flush, you need some coolant, your vehicle trying to overheat because it's going to get hot outside, or your tires are just low, or you need a lift on your truck, you need your brakes changed. Holler at Jake Wolf at Wolf's Customs there in Waverly, Kentucky. Are you looking for a private property, a commercial property? You looking for your first house, your second house, your third house, your neighbor's house? It doesn't matter. You looking for some property to buy? Holler at Josh Parrish at BHG Realty. Listen, Josh has got it going on, man. He's a good dude. He's straight up with you, and he can find you the piece of property or the building or the land, whatever it is you're looking for. Josh is the guy to go to. I promise you that. He's going to help you every which way he can. And if he can't get it or doesn't know how to get it, he's going to reach out and he's going to exhaust all his resources for you because he wants to be your realtor. So check out Josh Parrish at BHG Realty for the next time you're looking for that home away from home or you just want to buy your neighbor's home. It's for sale. Why not? Holler at Josh. He's going to take care of you. I promise you that. You're rolling around in Booneville, up there, Boone, Vegas, up there, Booneville, Indiana. You're up there at the McDonald's on top of the hill, and you look over and you see this place is called Warwick County Tire. Well, that's the place you need to go if you need tires. You need air in your tires. You need your tires plugged. You need your tires patched. You need tire work. You need brake work. Go see Billy at Warwick County Tire. He's going to take care of you like he took care of me. True story. I ordered some tires from him. Hey, dude, I was in and out in no time. Professionally done, fantastic service. And I'm not just saying that because I know Billy and Billy's family. I'm telling you because he takes pride in what he does at Warwick County Tire. So go see Billy at Warwick County Tire up there in Booneville, Indiana, and Boone, Vegas. Give a new shout out to Hackney Door Company. We'd like to thank them for the apparel we're wearing today. You got the Hackney Door Company hat and shirt on. Shane out there in Crittenden County, out there in Marion, Kentucky at Hackney Door Company. Listen, you need garage doors, you need building doors, you need doors that open and doors that close and doors that don't squeak and doors. You need a door. Holler at Shane Hackney at Hackney Door Company. We're going to put that information up for you too. So give him a call for all your door needs. And we appreciate you, Shane, for sending us the shirt and the hat. And we definitely appreciate your support here on Front Porch America. So I think that's our sponsors. So let's get to the podcast.
Respect, no judgment. Open up, say what you wanna say. Be real, be kind, free speech. Make this a better day. You got a voice, a story to be heard. Share it on the front porch, America.
Welcome to Front Porch America. And today's guest is a special guest. He's a local resident here at Union County, and he's been a part of something that I can remember for several years, and that's UC Gives Back. And this is Scott Elder. And today we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that UC Gives Back, how it started, kind of how you got involved in it, some things you've done. We can even talk about where the money goes. I don't know, is there one charity that you pick out? And we'll just kind of walk through that whole process. But before we get started, always like to give my guests a little gift.
Nice.
We got some stuff in there from the Fat Boy app, and then you got a few things there from me as well. I always just like to kind of give somebody something for coming out because I know it's your time, and we want to be very respectful for your time. So, with that being said, Scott, let's go ahead and let's talk about that. So, you've lived in Union County all your life, so let's just kind of tell
Right.
your story growing up and
So I'm 56 years old, born and raised on a farm, on on the on the Uniontown Morganfield line. Uh, 13 brothers and sisters,
well,
and back in the day, we were hog farmers, cattle farmers, and then row crop farmers. As far as stock and a lot of ground, took a lot of us to family-owned farms and yeah. Started out there, and I think when I was 24, 25, I decided it's not what I wanted to do the rest of my life, and been in the factory ever since. So yeah, it that's
running hogs,
country boy.
running hogs, man, that's a tough
Yeah,
job. That's
it
a
was these. Yeah, it I think we had 6,000 on the ground. So imagine, you know, waking up every morning. Hogs got to eat.
right.
They're going to get sick. Water lines are going to freeze.
Got to clean the
Uh, Clean, maintenance, feeding. I mean, uh, yeah. So to have 6,000 pigs on the ground, and I say on the ground means they were not out there in a mud hole in a field. They were inside, uh, no air conditioning, but it was warm, and because a hog puts off his own heat, so
right.
we had fans, just like a hog doesn't sweat. So kind of like these chicken houses, and you have fans. But yeah, it was 6, 7 days a week, and we had several hired hands breeding. Uh, just the corn grown was used to feed them. You know, I don't know what percentage, but you know, I think we had back then it was 3,000 acres, and uh, probably 75% of it was corn that
Oh
would be
wow.
turned right around
Just put back into
and
feed.
ground up and with supplement and fed back to the hogs. And then when the um, when the market hog market crashed, it was I remember my dad telling me, and maybe in the early '80s, I was in high school then, and you start seeing these farmers go out of business, pig farmers go out of business, and went belly up. And remember my dad telling me, I asked him, I said, what's going on? Why? And he said, we're basically selling, because we would sell hogs every Monday, uh, several hundred uh, fat hogs. So a fat hog would be a 6 month old pig, ideally 180, 200 pounds. If they were too fat, they dock you. You
Okay.
didn't want to, too thin. So there was a happy medium that the buyer. So right there were, it used to be Rite Aid. It's vacant building now, where the B&H used to
Okay.
be.
Hmm.
There was a Herschel Onan had the stock yards there, and that's where we take them. And then out there on 60, where Marty Girton has that big building, the old concrete plant.
Yep.
There was another different buyer there. So whoever gave us the best price, that's where we'd sell them. So yeah, we were pushing out, yeah, take our 2-ton trucks and change the gates on them, back them up to the chute. We'd have to get up at 5:30 in the morning during the summer. Was
Yeah.
in school, and then yeah, we load them up. And but I remember him telling me that we're basically selling these hogs and taking a $20 bill and sticking on every one of them's back. So we're giving the hog away plus a $20 bill.
Wow.
So there was no money to be
I
made.
always wondered what happened because I can remember as a kid coming over here and visiting my grandparents' hogs. I mean, it seemed like that people had hog floors everywhere,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And then all of a sudden they were just gone.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
never understood what happened. So it was I guess it
It was
crashed and
yeah,
it never recovered.
crashed, and then it was basically cheaper, from what I remember. It was cheaper just to go day wigs. It's still around. It was around 30 years ago. uh, it was cheaper to go buy a side of pork or beef, whatever, and to feed your family than it was to raise them and sell them. I must
Yeah.
say there was just no. And you could you wouldn't and then you'd have to set aside so many acres a year to put down all the hog manure. I mean, that was a full-time job in itself to get in the manure. Like say ours were enclosed, so uh, the manure would go down between these concrete slats into a concrete pit. So once a month, twice a month, depending on what how many we had inside, we'd have to suck it out and go use it for fertilizer. So you'd have to set aside, I don't know, 75, 80 acres
Just to
that
dump
could
it
be
on.
row cropped just to be putting manure on. And of course, you always had a water line break, and
Right.
hogs will tear up anything. I
Yeah.
mean, you
Yeah. They're
cannot build nothing that a hog won't tear up. So we woke up to a lot of mornings broken water lines, and we had built a lake to save on cost of buying the water from the county. So we dug a big lake and had a pump station put in, and that was a big help. But you still don't want to see several thousand gallons of water just
right.
go
Just kind
straight
of run
back into
down.
the
Yeah.
pit. And so equipment, you're packing the ground when you're when you're a manure wagon, you're packing the. It was a lot of compaction,
Yeah. It sounds like
and
it's just a
and then
process.
this kind of weather, if it rains every other day, your pits are getting full. Then what do you do with
There's
it?
nothing you can
You
do. I
just
mean,
gotta let them run. And uh,
this
uh,
has been a really wet summer. Speaking of
oh
that,
yeah,
man, it's been
it's
crazy. Like I don't know what I don't know what's going on. I'm about tired of it. I don't
oh
know.
yeah.
You can turn it off anytime you want. I
We
mean,
farm in the river bottoms, man, and
oh, so there's
the
not.
sloughs up there. They're not. I mean, they're not going to be able to even get to those sloughs. Uh, and the river's at right now 32, 33 feet.
So it's right there
So
then.
the headwater will come in from the backside and get up in the sloughs and fill them up. But yeah, thank God it didn't go. I think it takes 36 to get up in the fields. Some
Yeah.
of our farms that are along the riverbank, they'll get up in them. So whatever. So I think we dodged a bullet on you know
Kind of
totally
where it's
losing it.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I don't know how the insurance works this time of year on that deal, but
Yeah, I've never understood how the
yeah,
farm
yeah.
insurance worked
I mean,
anyway, and
and
it's kind of
yeah, it's and I have seen it up there in July. Have to take a boat up there in July and corn be knee high, waist high, beautiful stand, and it's up, and it's run.
just
You just gotta wait till it goes down and go back in there, and try to.
try to get something going
That's
again.
the life of a river bottom farmer.
Yeah,
You
that's
could.
crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, so you grew up here in Union County, and my biggest interest is your little benefit. Your are you a non for profit yet? 50
So
whatever.
we are a nonprofit, but we're waiting on our 501. we had some people reached out to us and saying, hey, are you a 501 yet? And I said, no, we've been waiting 2 years. So they got a hold of some people in Frankfurt, and they sent me some forms to fill out real quick, and we submitted them. So at least now we
So
got
hopefully that'll
somebody in
get,
Frankfurt.
yeah,
He's uh yeah, he ought to be able to get
good.
something done.
That's good.
So should have to wait,
Well, I noticed
two, 3 years.
since I've been over here, I've noticed that it's growing every single year. It gets
Oh
bigger and
yeah,
bigger and bigger and
yeah,
bigger. So let's go ahead and let's get into that. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about UC Gives Back. Kind of tell me the story, or tell us the
yeah.
story. How long has it been around? How it got started? I mean, we've got Thumbs Up for Lane. We got Poker Runs, Bicycle Jesus, the Dawson Springs Tornado Relief. So let's get into
Okay.
just let's start from the beginning. How did it get started? Who started it? And how does it all work?
So even before it was UC Gives Back, that was just something that and you're gonna it's I haven't told many people how I come up with that name, but so we it's started back in 99, 1999. The uh crazy idea, we were going to do a 70s party, dress up theme party, and then we thought, okay, we can do that. We got permission. We went to the Casey Hall, got permission, and we thought, well, we can just charge everybody $5, $10, whatever it was. Bring your own beer in to the KC Hall, and then we'll just donate the money to a cause. So we didn't think we'd get 50 people to come, because you got to go buy stuff, get
Right.
creative, you got to dress up and want to do it. So we me and my guy friends, we're young, we're all single, not a care in the world, and so we came up with that idea. I think according to this newspaper article, I think it said we had 400 people come, which that's a full house. That KC Hall was
Wow.
full. We were worried that we were going to get in trouble
So
with the
you have an article on
yeah.
that party?
So uh, I didn't even realize it, but the Evansville Courier had run a story on it. This is the little girl, the little Fenwick girl, that she was the crazy story. She was needing a NASA outfit. Um, she was allergic to the sun. She couldn't ever go outside. She couldn't be in a room like this. These lights would put off too much light. Now keep in mind this is before LED, so
Right.
it's all halogen. She NASA was going to cover half her costs. The outfit was $2,500. Now keep in mind this is in '99,
Yeah,
so
so that's still
the
quite a
goggles and the whole, and then she had to have a cooling vest because it was so hot. So imagine wearing a Halloween costume like
So you're basically
this
wearing a
time.
full
Yeah,
Tyvek suit,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
So, and I can't remember the age of this little girl, but she was under 10, and so she had ties to the county. Her mom and I believe stepdad were out of Uniontown, and so long story short, we were able to give her several $1,000s
So y'all threw a 70s party.
just through a 70s party, and
400 some odd people showed
showed
up.
up, and it was her and another little
So
girl.
this is what I want to know. Does anybody have pictures of this?
Oh yeah,
All
oh
right,
yeah,
we're gonna have to
oh
see
yeah.
some pictures of this. So if y'all have pictures of this, uh when I post this, I would love for some people to throw some pictures out there if they can find some. That would be neat. Uh, but yeah,
And
that's
we've
400 people, and you didn't expect maybe
no,
30, 40,
we
50
didn't
people to
know,
show
we didn't.
up
So
because it was just you and your buddies.
yeah,
It was
so that's Heath Knipe, Skippy Knipe. He's since passed, and my best guy friend Brian Ricketts. So we were the village people. I was a construction guy. Uh, Marty Greenwell, Brandon Brunetti. Uh, we had it down to a science. We would practice 2, 3, and we all worked at Raylock, so we had plenty of time on our hands in the afternoon. Okay, so it says 370 people here.
400.
Uh,
That's yeah.
$5 donation at the door.
And I'm sure probably more people probably, or some
Yeah,
people gave
yeah,
more,
yeah.
and you know,
Bring your own BYOB. Peaks donated a bunch of Chip Town.
wow.
It was, and I'd forgotten about that. So yeah, we go through the clippings and stuff, and so we thought, okay, if we can, a bunch of guys can just uh, throw something like this together, we'll just make it an annual thing. So we did the 70s thing, and then we went to an 80s thing the following year, and then we were kind of starting to outgrow these halls. St. Anne's Parish Hall hadn't even been built yet, so we only had Waverly, and I think that's about it. That was well, and the Key Club at the
Yep.
park
Yep.
before it was, you know, outgrew itself. I think we had one there, and it took a lot of coaxing to be allowed, you know, two, 300, 21 year olds and
Yeah.
the 16-year-olds that snuck in with fake IDs, you
Right.
know.
Right.
So some of the powers to be, uh, after we did it the first time, they found out, and so they said, "Well, y'all can't do it no more.
Right.
Y'all need to, you know, uh, even though it was for a good cause." So, but yeah, yeah, it worked out, and then so we did a bunch of them. Then my sister Denise was 36 when she come down with breast cancer, and we didn't have social media then. We didn't have our phones. If you you know, if somebody did come down with cancer, you had to call your family members up and say, "Hey, this is what's going on," you know. So you couldn't just relay it to 300 people at one time.
Right.
So we had dealt with that with my sister, and I thought, man, I said, you know, cancer at 36, and you know, a young family, had two little, uh, you know, kids,
Yeah.
married, uh, you know, you think, wow, and you know, you don't think there's much you could do, and it was hard to do things back in, you know,
Right.
it was hard to, you know, have a big event, or it took, you know, I mean, like you have almost like had like mail letters or take out ads in local
Right. And that's what we were
paper.
talking about before we started
Yeah,
recording. Is
or go to the bank and ask them to, or Rick Clemens's drugstore, you know,
put it on the sign.
run it on that
Yeah.
sign. I mean, and not everybody, you know, read the paper. Not everybody read the Courier or read those signs. So it was really hard to get the word out if you was wanting to do an event. And I always told myself, you know, when I get older, I said, uh, you know, we need to do things. My dad always told me, you know, he said, if you can't write the check to help somebody, you know, donate your time because, you know, everybody's got time. So if you're not in a position to cut somebody a big check to help them with their bills or get them back and forth to chemo, and then so I knew I was never going to be the one to be able to write somebody a big check, say, here, you know, here's enough to cover your bills. So
Right.
I thought, well, I got plenty of time on my hands. And so over the years, you learn what works, what doesn't work, and the timing of things, and then you get you have success and things, and people get interested and they want to be a part of it and they want to help, and then you're more able to get stuff. You know, you're able to have a hall donated to you or
Right.
free advertising, or everybody wants to be a part of it, so you're more able to, instead of paying $300 for chip mutton from Peaks, Irene would say, no, we're going to give you this and all the bread and the pickles and onions, and you know and then people see that and like, okay, yeah, we can do that too, we can
Yeah.
do this and we can do that. And then so the next time you do one, it's just like all you really got to do is have a date and pick who,
A good cause.
pick out your calls and be upfront with people. And yeah, that's it after you do 4 or 5 good ones and people see the success and it's all on the up and up, people want to get behind it,
Right.
and it draws them in. So
Yeah, and nowadays it's tough. Money's not as, I don't want to say free, but it's harder to, it seems like, come by. It's harder to stretch that
yeah,
dollar,
yeah,
So anybody that donates anything is, I mean, that's a blessing right off the bat,
yeah,
because,
yeah,
obviously $10 isn't $10 like it used to
yeah.
be in the 90s. Um, and some of the things you do, what are some other than the parties?
So we so so in 2016, my no, that's not right. I know you said we're not going to get political, but in 2016, Trump was running for his first term. My nephew at the time, or he's still my nephew, his girlfriend come down with cancer, and so I was bound and determined to host a Trump parade. Took a lot of flack over it. A
Right.
lot of stuff was said, and so we did it. Had 300 people come to it,
Wow.
2 mile long, side by sides and
Hmm.
jeeps, bumper to bumper,
Yeah.
traipse through we had the county's permission. Everybody was on board. They said, yes, you can do it. Just stay out of town. Be careful.
Right.
So we did. And Stephanie Hall, my vice president now, she saw the success of that, and she called me. She said, she said, if we did a poker run with side by sides and just charge everybody $10 for come, then we could donate that to your nephew's girlfriend. And I thought, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I said, nobody's gonna. I said, to do a Trump parade was just a spur of the moment thing. Uh, there was no money involved. We just did it
Yeah.
and went 60 miles in a circle. Everybody went home. And I said, I said, there's no way, for one thing, that the county's going to let us have a poker run. State police said, I said, they're not going to let us. And I was trying to visualize in my head. I said, how would we even do it? And I said, at the time, Mickey Arnold was sheriff. And I remember having to go up to the courthouse, and I didn't know his cell number. So I just thought, I'm going to go up there and confront him and tell him what we were thinking about doing and what Stephanie had put in my mind. And I said, hey, we had great luck with the Trump parade. A lot of people, no drama, great weather. I said, we want to do a poker run, and we'll figure out the games and how we're going to do it. But this is the date we want to do it, or the sheriff's and going to let us do it. Uh, I knew the city police would go along with whatever Mickey's crew would say. And he said, yeah. He said, just give me the route that you want to do, and let me look it over. So I went down to the basement to the PVA office, and me and David Owens sat down there and got a map of Union County of the roads, and we blew it up, and because where all the roads would
Right.
be like this road and
Hmm.
Moffitt's, and so we blew it up, and I said, all right, print that out. So I went home, and uh, I had called Adam Onan. I said, hey, because I was trying to think of a middle place that,
Yeah.
out in the country, a lot of parking. And I text Adam. I said, this is what we want to do. Can we meet and have your place as a start stop point? He said, yeah, sure, have at it. He said, I'll even get my guy to bush hog all that off so y'all have plenty of parking. So Mickey signed off on the map, and I don't know, let's just say 90 miles, maybe a little bit less. And we come up with some card games, um, had 8 or 9 stops. And like I say, we didn't know if we were going to have 50 or 500 people come. Of course, now we have social media, so we could put it out there,
Right.
and we did it, and yeah, had a great day. Thank God for the weather. Nobody, no flat tires. I think one guy maybe ran out of gas. He forgot he was in a hurry. He's late getting there, and he ran out of gas. But looks somebody had a jug with him, so he was back on the. He caught up to us. But yeah, and so I had apologized to Stephanie. I thought, you know what? I said I thought that was the craziest, dumbest idea ever. I never thought the county would got behind that.
Right.
And I said, but that's really that was really it wasn't a lot of work on us.
Right.
Uh, gave us a Saturday that everybody
It's fun, and you know, people
different.
enjoy being
Yeah,
able to get out here and
yeah,
just
yeah.
cruise on
Everybody
the
was
side by
invited.
sides.
Uh, yeah. I mean, Mickey said that we're gonna turn, just go and do. I just like he saw the map. I respected his wishes, and he was really good with it. And he said, "Yeah, just have fun." And I even called him back the day at Monday. Called his office, and I said, "Hey, did you hear of any complaints? Anybody complain about us speeding or littering or anything?" He said, "Not a peep."
Wow.
Maybe it was Tuesday. I gave it 2 days. I knew somebody was going to
Eventually, yeah.
get mad because we
Yeah.
we did something wrong or ran a stop sign or
Right.
went off in the grass. But he said I haven't heard a single complaint, and so that gave us firepower for the next one, and he kept letting us do it. And we did one in the spring, one in the fall. Man, they were my God. So a poker run per se doesn't make a whole lot of money because we're only charging $10, $15, I think, on the later on when we'd have 8 or 9 beneficiaries, we'd ask for 20. Again, we had no cost involved, but I didn't want to give a beneficiary $100. I want to give them 1,000.
Right.
So I upped the ante on the admission, and then we'd have more stops. And then later in the years, we integrated prizes. Businesses would donate raffle items. So we'd
Right.
have a silent auction over here. When you're registered, you sign in, then you walk over, and we might have 15 or 20 items. And then sponsors were kicking in, calling like, "Say, I can't come, but I want to support it for $100. I want to do a $200 donation." So I thought, man, I said, they're calling me wanting to do that. If I just reached out to some others, called them and said, "Hey, would you want to be a part of it?" And like I say, I'd have free time and see people out on weekends and stuff. Like, "Hey, so and so was going to give me 200. Do you want in?" "Oh yeah, we'll do it." And I thought, man, so yeah, they were pulling in 30 and $40,000 for
Amazing.
yeah, it is. It is literally. I never thought. Like I say, we'd come down through here,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we'd come through here, and they'd be stretched out 2 or 3
Yeah. They'd
miles.
be.
Cars would
I
stop,
can't.
and
I
they'd
know
look, and they were like, "What in the world?"
one
Because
year, you guys came by. Everybody came by, and I was just. I don't know. I lost count at like 200 and something.
yeah,
I don't even
oh
know what
yeah,
it was. I
yeah,
was just like,
it,
okay, I'm about waved. About waved all I could wave, and I
yeah,
was like,
yeah,
wow.
yeah.
I think y'all ended up over at Moffitt's or
Yeah,
something.
went to Moffitt's and yeah, and because I love that area anyway, we'd go back to all the way back to Airline
Yep.
Road, come out there, Polly Watson's, and
Persimmon Ridge and
yeah, Persimmon Ridge, and ride all through there. When we'd always want to stay off the main roads, and then
right.
certain times the farmers would be out in the field, out on the highways with their equipment, so we always knew like, hey, I would tell the guys that morning that come to the registration like, hey, we're in middle of spring. It's Union County. There are going to be some tractors, semis that we're going to come across. I said, when y'all see me take to the grass, I said, y'all do the same. I said, because we got to give those guys all the room. I don't want to
Right.
be responsible for having somebody flipping a semi over, dropping the planter off in a ditch.
Worried about,
I
yeah.
said, because that's not, I said, we're not in a hurry. They are. I said, we got to give them every inch. So, and we did. And I
Well, I mean,
said,
that says a lot about you and your team and everybody that participates to have that many people out here in the county on the roads, on side by sides,
Yeah.
hyped up, excited, having a good time, and not get any
Yeah.
complaints.
Yeah.
That says a lot about you guys and
We
everybody that was
we never did.
participating.
I'd call, and I'd always call Adam on a Monday, and Jeff Deibler, anybody's number, like, hey, what y'all hear? Did anybody complaining? Did we do something wrong? And it was always no. He said, long as we don't hear any complaints, then we're gonna keep letting y'all do this, and we're gonna. But the day that we, somebody flips it off in the ditch and cuts donuts after in somebody's field,
Right.
or just disrespectful, then it's game over.
And that would be
I
sad.
totally
I
get it.
mean,
I said, but I said, I don't think you'll have anything to worry about, because this is the once, twice a year that we can all get together, and thank God. I think we only had one that was a rain out, and we got to finish 80% of the ride, and and yeah, and then we kind of, everybody was sopping wet and cold, and it
right.
was just a miserable Saturday. But yeah, we got to do about 80% of the stops, and then we disbanded and everybody went home. But that's not bad. One time out of 10 that we
10, yeah.
did, we two a year. So yeah, big money. So it's going back. So, and I get asked this all the time, like, well, how do you pick? How do
Yeah,
you
that was going to be one
who
of
do
my
you
questions.
how do you, and you know how do you go about figuring out who gets what? And as crazy as it may seem, and before we even had a board, we hadn't always been a board. It was always just me and Stephanie, and whoever else wanted to help. I never turned nobody away, because I mean, it was a lot of work for
Right.
two people. And so, and we would just use Facebook. As crazy as it may sound, if you put it out there that your daughter or whoever cancer had a need an operation, need a prosthetic, lost your house to a fire, whatever, uh, just reached out to me or Stephanie, and word of mouth, and then we jot your name down on a piece of paper, and sometimes I'd have 10 or 15 names on there. So when we got that many names and nominations, of course, sometimes, and as any case, you get a nomination, you think, man, I don't think these people are going to use it for the right reasons. They're going to go
Right.
do something with it, and I'm not going to give somebody $2 or $3, $4,000 if they're going to go buy a shotgun or fix their boat, or So I had to be careful about who we pick, because if I gave somebody $4,000 and they ended up not doing it not doing it for what it was intended for, then they're not going to give me the money the next time. So
Right.
I really had to, and be careful about who we picked, and because it was going to hurt everybody.
So let me ask you a tough question. How hard is that when you have someone that, because this is a small community.
Right.
Everybody knows almost everybody.
Exactly.
You
Exactly.
hear that. It's as cliche as it may sound. But let's say John Doe over here's house just burnt, and he's got 2 kids, and they don't have any insurance, and everything's going down, and you've got a list of people, and you come to them, and how hard is it knowing that, okay, we know this person, we know it's almost like you have to judge them on their past,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how hard
Yeah.
is it to say no
Resources.
to that,
So
knowing that they need this
yeah.
money,
Yeah.
but I guess what I'm asking is, how is that decision made? Okay, we know if we give them this money, they're probably going to go and do X, Y, and Z with it. So how does that
Yeah.
decision happen?
So, and we have been burned. Oh, and we have been, uh, and we found out later that the family didn't do it for the right reasons. So, but if I knew I had 10 or 12 names on the list, and because so we would do one in the spring and the fall. Um, so after the first one, I started getting text and calls and Facebook messages. Hey, on your fall one, can you include this person? I say, maybe tell me the story. and it was a timing issue too because
Right.
we couldn't do one a month. I mean,
Right.
there's no way. So uh, so if I knew we had 10 people, I'd have to tell myself, all right, we know the poker run's going to make $700 because I figured 200 buggies and jeeps, and then so the sponsors, I'd have to tell myself, all right, you're gonna have to go get 80 sponsors. You're going to have to go get 100 sponsors. You're going to have to go get 150.
At a
So,
certain amount,
yeah,
or
because I knew what I wanted to give each one. Because, like I say, I don't want to give you 100. I want to give you 1,000, $2,000, because it's not worth anybody's time. Just me just do all this work and give you 100. So I'd always set a goal, and I'd sit up in my kitchen till midnight sometimes while my wife and daughter were in bed. I'm thinking like, all right, I'm gonna call this guy, see if he'll give me 200, and then I'd have a list. Probably it's out in the truck. I've got 150 sponsors that I know that I can count on 99% of the time. I know who gives me what. Some sponsors that give me 100 one year will give me 250 the next year. The next year they'll give me 500. The following year they'll give me 1,000.
oh wow,
So they start off at this point, and but it's happened opposite too. One year they might give me 500, and I'll say, hey, I said we're gonna do it, but in the poker run, you in again. He said, yeah, but let me just do 100 this time.
right.
I said that's fine. So uh, I used to just do it all by hand, but now one of the board members has made me a spreadsheet
There you
that
go.
I can, because I'm not computer savvy, so they made me a spreadsheet and with all their numbers and contacts. So I keep it more organized. But yeah, and but yeah, that's how we would do it. I, if I set a goal for 9,000 and I got it, and we were still 3 weeks away from the poker run, I'd say, all right, I'm gonna go for 11,000, and I'd get that 11. All right, we got a week left. All right, I'm gonna go 15. I probably ain't gonna get it, but I'm gonna go get
Right.
15,000, and I'd call, and I
Because
know,
anything after that first go is just an add-on
yeah,
addition.
yeah.
That's awesome.
And I would sit there and just pull my hair out, like, all right, who can I call next? Who This guy told me no, but I'm gonna get three more, and I'd be at work, and probably Danbury got fired a couple times for being on my phone while I should have been working, and be driving down the road, see a farmer out in the field. Oh man, I ain't called him yet. Let me talk to him, see if he'll give me some seed corn to raffle off, or you
Right.
know, and that's how I do it. I mean, like, and people don't realize. So I think we're 7,000 people in the county. People don't realize, and I don't go after the WalMarts and the dollar store people. They're not going to give you a hundred
No,
dollars.
and that's what I was going
You
to bring
know,
up next is, most of your sponsors, if
they're
not all of
they're
your
they're
sponsors, are local
they're
people.
friends. Yeah, they're friends, and
So what's cool about that, especially the ones that give items from their businesses away,
hmm
right? Let's say, uh, I don't know, Jen at Jen's General Store, right? She's
yep,
one of my sponsors, and you can go to her, and she's going to give you a gift certificate, and
yeah,
people are going to go in there. They're going to use
yeah,
that $20 gift
yeah.
certificate, but guess what else they're going to do? They're going to buy
They're
more
going to
when that
buy
twenty
something.
dollars
Yeah,
is out because all that stuff's free, and then they're going to end up spending more money, and then they're
yeah,
going to tell their
yep,
friends, and
yep,
and that's
yeah,
what's really
yeah,
cool about
yeah,
what you guys do,
yeah.
is all that money is invested right back into the county.
Exactly. Yeah,
It's invested to these families, to these local businesses and the farmers,
yeah,
and I've always liked that. I've always been intrigued, and that's why I
yeah,
kept hitting you up. I
yeah,
wanted you to come, and I wanted
yeah.
you to talk about this. And
And I won't I won't say who it was, but some of the businesses in the county get hit up every day. You
yeah,
can only imagine having a big business right here in the middle of
hmm
town. Every ball team,
hmm
everybody, and I totally get it. I'd be sick too, and they were always hard to give a monetary donation, and then it it hit their family, and she and they kind of saw the light, and she told me, she said, it until it happens to your family, you don't ever know what to expect, but it's it kind of,
kind of changed the way they
yeah,
looked at it.
yeah, like okay, maybe we need to do more sponsors, and or whoever it was, I can't remember, but yeah, I just remember that it hits home like that, and so you say, yeah, but you can't give to everybody.
You
You
can't.
can't
I
give.
mean, there's no way you
There's no
could.
way every ball team, every little t-ball team, and the shirts. I mean, I can only imagine how much time it takes for them to answer the calls and people stopping in there during business hours. Say, hey, can you sponsor my t-ball team? And
Yeah.
so, uh, UC gets back started selling itself. When I thought it was crazy when they started reaching out to me instead of the other way
The other
around.
way
Like, oh
around.
my God,
Hmm.
this is way easier on me. They're reaching out to me and they're seeing me in town. Like, hey, call me tomorrow and I'll have a check for you.
Yeah.
And and
And how
and
cool is that? How cool is that to know that
I,
all of your team's hard work, you spent years reaching out to people, getting them no's, and that's if you want it, you got to work for it.
yeah, yep,
That's my
yep,
thing, man. If you want it, you got to work for it. And
yeah,
that's kind of like this podcast. In the beginning, I was reaching out to all kinds of people. Now I've actually got, I've got people reaching, hey, I'd like to come tell my story. I like to, and that's so cool to me.
yeah,
And it kind of, I feel like that's how it feels with you guys. Is now you've got people coming and say, hey, we
yeah,
want to be a part of this
yeah, yeah.
because it's a really awesome. It's probably one of the biggest fundraisers in our
Oh
county,
yeah,
um, and just seeing it grow is really
yeah.
cool.
And then after the poker runs, I used to help. Of course, I've always been fond of Happy Pack and Happy
Yeah.
Feet.
Hmm.
Uh, Happy Feet, Jerry Beard, of course, he just passed. He always tried to get me on board with them. Loved the whole concept. I mean, Jerry was a saint in that whole concept that he come up with, and him and Miss Gill. I always thought, man, that how cool. Because no, not every county has that. I
Mm-mm.
mean, Union County has so many things like this. If you go to Henderson or Evansville, you say, yeah, Happy Pack or Happy Feet, they look at you like, what are you talking about? They
Yeah.
don't have that. So for us to have all these, and so I never, uh, Jerry kept trying to get me to come on board with Happy Feet, but I was always obliged to the Happy Pack first, because when Christy Schaus and Becca Logan reached out to me and they said, "Hey, can you come and help us and sit on some meetings to help us with some fundraisers?" Because they saw the success that we were having, and like, hey, and at the point when I think it was Becca saw me at Walmart one day or texted me, she said, you know, uh, she told me what they were doing. I thought, how cool is that? Because believe it or not, everything's Union County is a wealthy little town. We have some areas that are there's a lot of kids that are going
Right.
without.
Yeah.
I mean, like without, and broken families. And so I went to their meeting at the church one night, and um, Christy's Christy's mother-in-law, Miss Shouse, told me the story of how it originated, and I started crying. I'm like, because you know, you always have this image of Union County, and because I don't see the broken homes. I don't see the kids living in uh cardboard, the trailers with dirt floors and no
Right.
plumbing, no heat and air. And I was like, Union County has places like that. As I'm in, I thought, and she said, yeah, uh, and it's bad. A lot of kids are going to school hungry. There's no breakfast. The mom's at work. There's no dad, or vice versa. The kids are fending for themselves. And I thought, oh my God. And so hell, they had me in tears there. I'm like, sign me up. I said, I've got to get behind this. So it was just an awareness thing.
Hmm.
So we that's where the my first exposure was to the dueling pianos
Oh yeah,
that they
that's
would
good too.
bring
Hmm.
down. The first one was at the where the Mexican is now. When that was
The winery.
Dr.
Yeah,
White,
White
yeah,
Bucks.
Dr. White had it, and I thought, yeah, we can, well, yeah, this is doable. Let's do it. And even though it can only hold 150 people, had a good turnout, if not sold out, and it was my first exposure to that. And and you hear and you knew where it was going to. It was, it was going to feed those kids,
Hmm.
and fell in love with Happy Pack. I mean, just those girls. Now Liz Wallington is taking it over, uh, and does a great job, and I still keep up with them and support them in any way I can. Uh, but so then we get, uh, years later. I think we had the tornado in Dawson
Hmm.
Springs, and I'll never forget it. The tornado was on a Saturday, I believe. I'm at a friend's lodge drinking on a Sunday, believe it or not, and Adam Onan calls me. I'm thinking like, Adam never calls me. It's always a text. I'm thinking like, man, that must be wrong. And he calls me and he says, "So you know about what happened in Dawson Springs, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "Crazy." I said, "I don't want to go there because you want to." I've seen the TV and YouTubes and
Yeah.
uh, but I said, "Are you gonna go?" He said, "Yeah, I'm gonna go." He said, "But here's what I want from you." He said, "You and your guys need to do something uh, to represent the county and come up with some funds that we can send to them. Because one day that might be us needing
Absolutely.
help. And here we are, knowing what we know about this last tornado. And I'm sitting there on a pretty Sunday, and I'm thinking, like, Adam only had just called me, told me to go get a bunch of money rounded up and do something uh, to send to Dawson Springs. And I'm shaking my head like I have no earthly idea what to do because they're going to need millions, not
Right.
hundreds. They're going to
Yeah.
need millions, and whatever we do is not ever going to be enough. Whatever we can give them. So I thought about it. I went home and I said, "Man, there's only one person that I'm going to be able to reach out to that's going to make a difference." And to the extent that it needs to be, and that was Renee Anderson. So I texted her or called her, and I said, "Hey," I said, she's in Connecticut, so they're what, an hour or two ahead of us.
Yeah.
So it's probably 10 o'clock her time, if not later. And she, I said, I got a project I want us to work on. I said, I never asked you for nothing, but I said, I told her what Adam had told me, and she had seen about the tornado. She said, matter of fact, I'm working on something right now. She said, I need your help too. I think like, oh my God. I said, this could be really, really good. I said, what you got going on? She said, I'm got to finalize some things with Roger Goodell, but her boss.
Hmm.
And, but she said, I'm working on a GoFundMe, and I need you in the county to help me find out who's who. Because, she's in New York and
Right.
lives in Connecticut. And she said, I need you. And she had Amy Nelson, her best girlfriend, principal now. She said, y'all gonna be my boots on the ground. I'm gonna give us about 3 weeks, and we're gonna raise a lot of money. She said, with my contacts in the NFL and with what y'all do down there, I can get the names and find out where it needs to go because she don't know anybody down there.
Right.
And I
Right.
thought, okay, I can get Adam to give me the names, the county judge. I said, that's the least we can do. So we did it, and God love her. Man, I think that thing 225,000,
Yeah.
225, 250. She told me in the beginning that she wanted or she asked me what my goal was, or how much are we talking about. I said, how much you think we can make? She said, I don't know. What do you think? I said, hell, 500,000. I said, you got those people up there,
Yeah.
the pro athletes. I said, she said, no. She said, it won't be that much, but we'll get us there. And I got super excited. I don't think I went to bed that night. I
Yeah.
thought,
Be hard to.
okay, I'm gonna be able to to tell Adam, I was like, all right, we got something in works. It's going to be a good thing, and Rennie's on it. So yeah, we gave ourselves about 3 weeks. We set a deadline. She got approval from the NFL, and the GoFundMe, and man, it was I had to make the Adam was giving me the contacts and to because it's what Union County is dealing with now.
Right.
Uh, you know, finding places to put all this stuff. Where's the money need to go? And Renee had to get it right. She couldn't mess it up because
Yeah.
she was, she
She
had
was
a
on the spotlight
yeah,
on that end.
yeah,
Yeah.
and all eyes. I mean, yeah, and we walked the fine line because with yeah, so we had to yeah be really careful with how we did things, and she had her ducks in a row, and we did down here, and it all worked out. So yeah, it's it's a lot of money, but it's not. I mean,
Right.
225 is not a bad chunk of change for 3 weeks worth of work. Hell, she did 99.9% of it.
Right.
We were just doing what we could down here. We had a few local people, sponsors to donate, but yeah, that was good. She taught me a few things. I was able to see how she would do things, and I used it uh, when we did things, and the do's and don'ts, and how to go by getting it or getting all your ducks in a row and doing it the right way. That way, it wouldn't come back on you.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you get too excited, and then you jump right in. You think,
Yeah.
God dang, I shouldn't have. I did it wrong, or I'm going to catch hell about that. And
Yeah.
so,
Well,
but
I mean, when
she's a.
you're raising money, when you're dealing with money in
Mhm.
general, there's so much you got to
Oh yeah,
account for everything.
yeah, you do, you
One
do.
little mistake, it's funny because people don't remember the good things you do. They remember that one bad thing,
Mhm.
that one mistake. That's what they remember.
Yeah.
Uh, and so when you deal with that much money, it's always,
Yeah,
dot your I's,
yeah,
cross
because
your
they're
T's. So
especially with her in her
yeah,
position,
yeah,
you know. But yeah, thank God it all worked out, and it's like say she's the biggest fan of Union County.
right.
There's no doubt about it. She's given me jerseys, signed jerseys to auction off, signed footballs. I mean, yeah, she she'll do anything. She loves her hometown, and of course her parents are still here and alive and well. So yeah, she's a great
It's awesome.
person
It's
to have
a,
on your
a great
side.
asset
She is,
for this
she
county.
is.
It's awesome.
She would do anything, and if there's something that uh, I'm on this 501 deal, or I reached out to her, and hell, I even asked her. I said, when enough that day ever comes, I said, do you think the NFL would uh give us some money? She said, Kentucky doesn't have a pro team, so there would be no reason for the NFL to give you guys any money. She said, not being
Right.
that person, but she said, as big as the business they are now, she said if Kentucky had a couple pro teams, then yeah, but then she told me how to when that day comes, who I can go after. She gave me 4 or 5 names and addresses, companies to start with that she has dealt with, and that would probably get on our donor list. And so some of the things she told me that I was like, wow, I didn't know that. You can read everything on the internet you want to, but
Right.
she deals with this stuff,
Yeah.
a
When you
lot.
got an
So
inside hand,
yeah,
so that's a
so
big help.
she'll
That's
say, well, that's not always the case. This is what you're going to have to do and need to do, don't need to do. And so I just know I can always reach out to her and ask her, uh, and she's really communicative and
that's
really
really good to
good.
have.
Yeah, 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 we love her.
So from the beginning of UC Gives Back, how much money has been raised to date?
So I had Stephanie last year, right before the dueling pianos. It was a sold out event, sold it out in like a week. Uh, had a big group coming. I think they were out of Kansas, so selling $500 tables. You know, 8 to a table, bar, uh, wasn't serving food, and we sold it out. And which we knew we would. It would just matter how fast we were going to
Right.
be able to sell it out. So big money maker. And I asked Stephanie, my vice president. I said, go back to because she's been with me since a lot. I said, go back and figure out how much money that we have spent out. And so we went through it together, and I dug out some. Like I say, I didn't never have a spreadsheet up until
Right.
last
Right.
year. I didn't keep good notes. My other board members laugh at me like, "How did you ever keep all this stuff straight with just a notebook and a piece of?" Because I was, you know, and I said, "Well, we did it." I said, "We made it happen." But uh, as of last November, we were over 300,000 in just
Wow.
10 years. So, uh, yeah, 300. Because I was just curious to myself
Right.
what we had done, and I kind of had a ballpark. I knew it was a lot, and we figured it up, and pretty close. Uh, we've done 2 or 3 other events. We just did that daughter, mother son dance here
Oh yeah.
a couple
Okay.
weeks ago. Had a good turnout for the first time. We thought we'd have more, but yeah, we'll probably do one again. But yeah, 300,000,
I mean,
and
that's $300,000
yeah, so about
given
30,000.
back
Yeah, yeah. And
to the
one of our
community.
things is one of our criteria is that it always stays in the county, even though we got people from Henderson County. They know when they give me the money, it's gonna stay here in the county. I've got 5 or 6 businesses and individuals in Henderson that give me a lot of money, but they know that it's
It
going to
stays
stay in the
here.
county, and they're fine with it. But I think so. Yeah, good on them. So yeah, we're on average about 30,000 a year,
That's
which is incredible
especially
for.
in times like now.
Yeah,
It's hard to
yeah,
get money.
yeah,
It's hard to get money
yeah.
now.
It is, and
And it's the craziest thing I've ever seen is there's places that are hiring that was the hardest to get on. Stacks and stacks of applications, but you almost had to know somebody that knew
mm-hmm.
somebody to get on.
Yeah,
And now, you can go get a job, but it's just the money doesn't stretch. It doesn't go as far now, and it's harder for people. I feel like people are more worried about where that next dollar's coming from, where their next meal's coming from, and yet people
yeah.
still believe in a cause and still give out.
And that's funny you say that because I tell everybody that wants to listen, the people, and this is people that I see every day, ones I drink beer with, and I run around with. Uh, I guess what I'm trying to say is the ones that you think that would give you the $300, $500 don't, but the guy that you call that you thought there's no way in hell he's gonna give me any money. I mean hell, and there it is. It absolutely when I sit down there and I go through my spreadsheet and it's fine, but yeah, the ones that don't have it
Give it.
give it, and the ones that are sitting over here and I don't hold it against them. I mean,
Right, right.
you can. I mean, you. I
It would
don't.
be easy to.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, because I haven't always given to things that's been asked of me. So I think, well, maybe but yeah, and that just makes me kind of like, all right, I'm gonna just cause she said no or he said no, I'm gonna get it. It
Just gives you a
yeah,
drive. It
it's like, all
drives
right,
you to get
I'm gonna get
more.
500. I'm gonna get 1,000. I'm gonna go
And
get
that's
50.
that's like me. I can't win anything. Like I rarely win anything, but I'll buy raffle tickets for about any. If I see it and I'm not too late, I'm gonna buy raffle tickets, whether I win or not. I'm no more than likely I'm not gonna win. I actually won. Um, West Kentucky University and Kentucky Fish and Wildlife had some kind of giveaway, and I entered it, and I actually won the big prize. So I'm gonna go tomorrow Bowling Green pick it up. But and I was like, I can't believe I won. So I went and bought a lottery ticket, and I didn't win. So I'm back. I'm back to doing. Gotta go to work. But no, and that's really cool, and that like it means a lot for especially when that person probably doesn't have that $20, that
Yeah.
$100
Yeah.
to give, and they give it because they
Yeah.
believe in what
Yeah.
you guys are doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's, kudos to you guys
Yeah.
and kudos to you
Yeah.
and your team, because it's tough to do this. It's tough to
It
go out
is.
and ask for
It is.
money.
And
I know people that would go up to a stranger and ask them for $5, but when you're doing it for not your own benefit, but for
Yeah.
somebody else's benefit, and you may
Yeah.
not even know them, but
Yeah.
it's a good cause. It's
Yeah.
tough to go ask these
It
people for
is.
that,
Some
especially in
yeah.
now.
Especially when you're calling and if you're like me, when you send somebody a text, you know, I expect an answer within 5 minutes because I don't have no patience. I want you to tell me yes, no, and maybe. Some of these people might strike me along for a week, and I just like, and then I'll put a question mark by the side of their name. I like because you don't want to make them mad,
Right,
keep bugging
absolutely,
them,
yeah.
and I know what business they're in, so I'm like, okay, it's a rainy day, it's time to call the farmers. Hey,
Right,
it's a sunny day. I don't call people that do landscaping because they're out working, so
right.
you kind of gotta know the crowd and what they do for a living, and when's the best time to catch them because I don't want you to text me 5 times and ask me for something, and you know, I might have something going on, and I, don't bug me. And I
Yeah.
gotta tell myself, all right, I've already sent 2 texts that guy. I'm not gonna text him no more. I just gonna leave it floating out there, and then when you see him at Walmart,
There's your
you know,
opportunity. Yeah.
yeah,
Hey, by the
yeah.
way,
No, I don't even do that.
you
I
know.
like, when I see them, I think like, I've already sent you 2 texts, but I'm not gonna,
Yeah, but when they see you,
yeah,
they're like,
yeah,
"Oh,
yeah.
oh, oh, yeah.
And
Oh,
I'll
crap."
say, something. Not everybody,
Oh, no, I'll hit them up if I see them in
no,
person. That's,
because
you know,
I don't want to be
I
that
think I
person.
message you, and then, I just let you
Yeah,
stew on a little
yeah,
while, and
yeah,
then I'd hit you up again.
yeah,
And, of course,
yeah,
our schedules
yeah,
kinda didn't
yeah.
combine, but
Between working on the house, landscaping, and she's wanting to do these weekend painting projects, and the puppies. I mean, uh,
I've been busy. So what's new this year for UC Gives Back? What do we
so
got? We got anything exciting? We got anything
yeah,
big?
we're working on the dueling panels. It's coming up. It's the Saturday before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
We got a crew out of Louisville coming. Our treasurer, Chris Payne, who's also the mayor of Waverly, went to Louisville for a weekend getaway this winter, and she was downtown and found a, a one of those piano bars, and then she fell in love with them. She said, and she was sending us videos that night. She said, "Oh my God, y'all, these people were really, really good." And she said, "We should ask them." Or she said, do you care if I ask them for their business card information, and maybe we can get them to come down to Union County?" Because at the time we didn't. This is like hell. This is before Christmas, so
Yeah.
I thought, okay, because and those people that are really good at doing the panels, they're 6, 8 months out. You can't just call like
Wow.
on this
So
week
they're
and have
yeah.
they're expensive, and they're
So they don't do it for free.
oh
You
no,
got to pay
no,
them.
yeah, yeah. These you're looking at in between 4 to 6 thousand.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
we got to pay that up front.
So
So
that's right off the bat.
when we do a benefit, we always got to keep, and we got to run our nonprofit just like a business. You don't want to run your checking account out to the,
Right.
so we always got to keep money in our account for these things like this. So we'll and yeah, because they require a payment. I think 90 days out, and then a week out. You got to pay them all up front, sign a bunch of paperwork,
Yeah.
and so you're kind of just rolling the dice. I mean, are you gonna? Is anybody gonna come?
Right. Are they going to be as good as what,
Yeah, yeah, and then, or I mean, you know, so when you come to one of those dealing panels, uh, we got a bunch of alcohol to sell. We've rented the hall. Well, we never had to pay for the hall.
Wow.
They've always donated the hall to us. Father
Nice.
Freddie's always been great about that. Like I say, people bend over backwards when they know that you're or done it for years and it's not your first time and you're legit. they're more apt to waive this cost, waive that cost,
Right.
and the only thing that we got to pay is the insurance on the event. It's $1 million insurance policy. Somebody slips, falls, breaks a neck, which is cheap. It's like, I don't know, $100. We
Yeah.
got to pay the diocese. Uh, we don't pay the alcohol until after the event. So, but yeah, your piano artist, you got to pay them up front, but you don't know if you're going to get a crowd or not. I
Right.
mean, so then you got to think, oh my God, we lost money, and we done, and but luckily we've never faced that
Yeah, I
yet.
mean, because if you
We've
lose money,
never.
you still got to get
Yeah,
that money
yeah, yeah.
to the
And we
people you're
know
doing
there's
it for.
people are going to be needing it, so we kind of
Yeah.
going to feel guilty, like, well, we could donate to 5 families, but we lost it, and there's no way of getting it back because, uh, but like I say, yeah, let's not talk about that.
We make you nervous.
Yeah,
Get you a little
yeah,
worried.
that's
I
yeah,
don't think I'm hoping, and I just feel like
yeah,
I don't think that'll ever be an issue. I
yeah,
don't think so. I
yeah.
think
And you don't
what you
want to
guys
do,
are doing
and you
is
don't want to do the same thing over because you'll wear them out.
burn them up.
I
Hmm.
think the poker runs had was going to somebody. I think my brother-in-law told me, he said, "Yeah, y'all have done 8 or 10, whatever." He said
Change it
it
up.
might be time to.
Well, I know the Jeep and the side by side run is pretty popular.
Yeah,
I know a
yeah.
lot of people
And I
love
get
that,
asked
and that's
all the
so
time,
much fun.
like, when you gonna bring it back? When,
Hmm.
why'd you quit? Why'd you stop? And like say it and it wasn't all uh we'd been on every road. I mean, traipsed through every little back road. We knew we couldn't be on state roads quite a
Right.
bit. The diver was great about letting us come through town and stopping traffic for us and letting us come through to get to one part of town to the other,
Hmm.
get out to the. Because, like I say, you don't want to run the same route,
Right.
and
Absolutely.
so if you don't make it fun for you, then what's gonna make it fun for how you gonna get your buddies to come? I mean,
Yeah.
and who wants to go on the same lap? So, like I say, we'd come out here to Moffitt's, and which Moffitt's is so cool because when you're Tammy and Jerry Dempsey took us around the backside and let us get on the levee, and I've never been able to do
Yeah.
that. I don't think it's got a steel pipe gate up,
Right. Right.
but Jerry asked me, he said, man, he said, you think people would want to see the backside and get on the levee? I said, absolutely. I
Yeah.
said, I want to see that. And we got a beautiful picture. Like I say, so just imagine a mile long bumper to bumper thing traipse around the whole perimeter of
Office
Moffitt's, and,
Lake.
and we got a beautiful picture of it. And it's just great. And like I say, we left there and went God knows where. But yeah, we'll maybe one day we can bring. Now they're fixing to make them state road legal. I mean,
Right.
the fiscal courts gonna talk about it Tuesday, and it goes into effect if it passes. It goes into effect on the 27th, which is next Friday. So put a license plate on it, pay the taxes, and you
Registration
can
and
leave here and you can go to Walmart, you can go to town and run errands on
right.
your side by side, and yeah, it's been a long time coming. I never thought I'd see the day we'd
Right.
be able to make them.
Yeah.
Uh,
Street legal.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I thought, well, that day's come, but it's going to be expensive for some people. But yeah, and you asked a while ago about the thumbs up. That was where
That was a thumbs up for
that
Lane.
was thumbs up
Lane
for
Goodwin.
Lane. The connection with me and Angie was I had bought a boat, a speedboat from her stepdad. When I went to buy that boat, it was all fine, and then it wasn't no time later. Uh, she gets the news that her son Lane had gotten rhabdomyosarcoma. So let's just call it pediatric cancer. Real aggressive, real rare. I mean, 1 in a million kids will ever get it. So, uh, they lived in Beech Grove, Kentucky, uh, and that whole thing blew up when the media got a hold of it, and all the attention that Lane was getting, and just all the support, because Beech Grove is, I know, smaller than Union
Right.
County.
Yeah.
It's probably
Absolutely.
the
It
size
is.
of Sturgis,
Yeah.
and yeah, real small town. Uh, her husband George, great guy. They had met in college. They were in Western. He's from Texas. They'd met at Bowling Green at Western, so we had a connection. And I just reached out to her, and I said, "Hey," I said, "What can I do? What do you need me to do? I'll do whatever." And then she said, "Just come to the house and pray with us. Landon wants to see you, their other son." Uh, but by this time, it had gained like national attention.
Right.
I mean, it every time you turn on TV, it was him, and uh, I'm thinking like, man, I said, Lane's got to pull out of this. He's got everybody in the country rooting for him. And so it went on, and uh, it was a thing back then. It's not so much now. We would go to restaurants, call restaurants, say, "Hey, can you do a 10% night?" Which would mean, uh, and somebody just did one here recently, I think, for
Hmm.
Maggie, the Mexican restaurant. Maybe it's a 20% night, which 20% of all the food they had sold, they would turn it right back to the family. So Angie said, "Yeah, that's what you can do. You can call some restaurants and get us some benefits going, because I mean, expensive. I mean,
Yeah.
and treatments and everything." So I said, "Okay, I can do that." And we did that 2, 3 nights a week. We were going someplace to a restaurant, and like I say, it was everybody knew the thumbs up. I mean, pro athletes was behind it. St. Louis Cardinals, musicians, Lord, and we went to Nashville for a big fundraiser, and met a lot of good people. And so I was sitting home one night, and I was thinking like, okay, they've got the thumbs up. What can I call, you know, what we're doing down in Union County? What can we call that? And I think I might have been in the shower one night, and I thought I'll just come up with something generic for now until I come, because I was working on an event here, and I needed to call it something. And then I said, well, let's just call it a, because when we were doing the restaurant things, I would say like, okay, uh, Red Lobster gives back, and then we'd go, you know, Hooters gives back, whoever it was. And I thought, okay, I can just call it UC gives back, and until I come up something bigger and better. So we went with that, and for whatever we was doing, and it kind of stuck. And I just sat on it for a couple of years, and then I was at work one day, and I was like, man, I really need to come up with a logo or something to put on a shirt, whatever.
Right.
And I um, reached out to Amy Nelson at the high school. She was not principal yet, but I reached out to her. I said, "Hey," I said, "do you have some art kids out there that are good, that are open minded, and can come up with a concept?" I said, "I'm looking for a logo, and I need some ideas." And she said, "Yeah, oh yeah." She said, "We got some classes I can." So she said, "What do you want to see on it?" Hell, I was sending her pictures of tractors and things like that.
Right. Right.
Hell, I didn't know. And so she said, "Give me about 3 4 days. I'll come up with something." Well, hell, it wasn't an hour later. She's texting back, and so with the logo, the American
Hmm.
flag, and the corn cob up in the corner, and then the barge hauling coal.
Right.
She said, "How?" She said, "This is what I've come up with. Just sitting here in my office." She said, "What do you think about that?" I thought, "Oh my God!" I said, "That's awesome." I said, She said, "Now I can tweak it," and she said, "You're not going to offend me if you don't like it.
Right.
If you want whatever. But Union County's known for corn and coal.
Yeah.
We're Kentucky's like we're the number one corn producing county in Kentucky and number two in beans. Of course, Riverview employs 800-900 people. I thought that's a good way to integrate the both, and I said, so she tweaked it a little bit more, and I said, yeah, send that to me in a PDF file, and so she did, and that's what we went with.
So that's how it
So
became.
yeah, that's how, and we got it. I asked her, I said, now, um, are you gonna come back on me 20 years from now and saying,
Just jerk it from you. Yeah,
yeah,
copyright
yeah, yeah.
infringements.
She said, no. She said, you know me better than that. I said, I would never. She said, it's yours. I'm not ever going to come back on you. Copyright infringement,
I'll tell you
whatever.
what, copywriting and LLC, man, I never, that's something I never thought I was gonna have to deal with until I started doing this, and
Yeah,
I'm glad I did.
yeah.
I'm glad I did.
You
So
gotta cover yourself, man,
yeah,
because there's somebody always out there that will snatch it from you.
yeah,
So yeah, you learn as you go, and you got to deal with honest people. But yeah, the that bicycle Jesus was another crazy
that was yeah, that
thing
was
that
pretty neat.
uh the little girl that brought it to everybody's attention, the first one that came across them, uh, she's now since deceased, but she brought to everybody's attention, and so me and my wife woke up one Saturday morning. We was fixing to go to the river all day with friends, and I seen what she posted, and she said he's got his bicycle and he's leaving Warfield, he's going to Sturgis, and I told my wife, I said, and she had said in the post that you might see him on the side of the road. He might be sleeping in under the road because it was hot. It was July. It's
Yeah,
boating weather. And I told my wife, I said, let's get up, and go find him. We can help him, give him some money. And I said, that's the least we can do. Hell, we was just killing time. So we went out looking for him, and I had text the girl that had posted that, and she said he's just got to Sturgis. He's at Andrew Arnold's restaurant. She said I have paid for a week uh, for the cabin. She said I put him up in a cabin for a week. Now, okay, so we went down there, and he was just getting unlocking his door into his cabin. So we went up and introduced ourselves, and I said, "Man, what's your story? Where'd you come from?" And oh Lord, it was hot, already hot that morning, and blue jeans on, long sleeve shirt. His bike, everything he owned was on that bike, and more or less, he just said that I lost my identity, don't have uh, no form of ID. I can't get a job because he said somebody has gotten my identity. He said, and nobody will help me. And I'm thinking like, and my wife's a lifetime movie freak, so you see shows.
right. Yeah,
Somebody gets into your credit card and takes everything, and worst case they get your address and your bank account numbers, and yeah, I mean I've seen it happen, and I'm thinking like, and he told me where he come from. My God, thousands of miles away, and because they had seen him going across the Twin Bridges like the day before, so and I'm thinking like, wow. And his bike had two bald tires on it. I mean, he had rolled that much. Them tires
just
was bald, and I bet he had 100 pounds worth of duffel bags and stuff.
well,
So
everything you owned
yeah,
was
and
in.
he had a solar phone charger. I did say, well, uh, he showed me the solar powered thing that charges his cell phone, which I thought was ironic. You don't have nothing, but you got a phone.
Right.
And he told me the story, and I said, so the first person I thought of, I said, well, I got to call my buddy Steve Arnett. I said, this was a Saturday. I said, I'll call Steve, and I said, we're going to get to the bottom of this. I said, we're going to get you done. Don't worry about it. Uh, and I called Adam and let him know what was going on because they said that they could probably put him out there at Moffitt's, put him up out there if worse comes to worse, or if Andrew was full. I think the biker rally was coming 3 weeks prior, so uh, uh, so he had 3 weeks. We had 3 weeks to find out what his name was, where he come from, get his identity back, so he could go back to living a normal life. And so I thought, man, I said, here I am again, another crunch,
Right.
And I was like, not really sure if what we're gonna do, but I called Steve. He said, call me back Monday. He said, we'll get down the bottom of it, and because I was at work in Henderson, and when Steve called back and he said, all right, bring your guy to my office, and we're gonna sit down and talk about this, get down to the basics. So, uh, told a buddy of mine to, I said, go down there and get him at Andrews, bring him to Steve's law office, and I'll meet y'all there at 4 o'clock. So that's what we did, and he was real. He's like, y'all ain't gonna be able to do nothing for me. I done tried all this. Nobody wants to help me. I'm just wasting my time here. I need to go in and go. And I'm like, no. I said, I've got 3 weeks. I said, um, we're gonna get something done. So long story short, I put a post out on Facebook describing the issue. Uh, Dayra Dayra Waller,
Mhm.
Dayra Foster lives across the road from me. She's married to Benson Waller. Benson went to college with a guy that did this kind of thing. He could search and find out find out your identity, who else is using your information, and that's what they do. They're in Florida. And Dayra texted me. She said Benson is going to send you this guy's name and number. He said that's what he does. It's a foundation, and that's what they're set up for. Uh, and he was a vet, and I'm sure he had a little bit of PTSD. Uh, and so so I got the guy's number in Florida, told him what we had, and I said he's adamant about leaving. He don't want to stick around. He wants to go. And I said, but we got to act fast and keep him here, keep him occupied. So we had a food train coming. Everybody was bringing him food down to
Right.
and people were giving him money. So if he didn't want the spaghetti problem, he'd go across the street to that Mexican restaurant or
Get
Andrews
some at
right. And
Andrews. Yeah.
Andrew set up a thing and you know, told me he could come over eat for free, wouldn't charge him anything. So he was fed and he had showers, he had air conditioning. So he was lo and behold, between Steve and donating all his time and efforts and his office and the guy in Florida, uh, we were able to find out his ID and basically from what I could, they really didn't I don't know. They really didn't. The guy in Florida didn't really tell me a whole lot for whatever reason. He just sent me an email. He said, your guy's good. He's taken care of. Uh, and I thought, what do you mean? I said, he's went all these years. I said, and he said, yeah, he's good. We found a mistake. Something happened during COVID. His dad had the same name, and they got the senior, and he was the junior. Dad was senior, and something happened during COVID in the computer system. He got totally wiped out
Wow.
and no banking information, no. And I thought, man, I said, and people were crazy. Hell, my own friends were telling me, like, man, you're
This dude's taking you down the
you're
road.
dumb for
Yeah.
even helping this guy, man. He said he's just a wonder and da da da. I said, man, there's got to be something to it. I said, so what? I said, least I can do is give his driver's license back to him, and at least he's got some kind of identity. He had no family. He lost his wife to a drunk driver. He did tell me that. Hell, I took him out there on the side by side ride a couple of times. We went out. I'd go get him in Sturgis, and hell, we'd go out just ride around and talk and to get to know him. And somebody coined a friend's bicycle Jesus.
Yeah.
because he, looked
Yeah.
like, and I kept telling him, I said, man, I said, I'll give you the $20 if you go let somebody go cut that damn hair and cut your beard. I
Yeah.
said, you look scary. I said, if I saw you on the side of the road, I wouldn't stop for you either. And of course he'd laugh, and I took him to Moffitt's one night, ate pizza and
Yeah.
breadsticks, and I let him drive my side by side, and we had a bond, and I didn't want to get too close to him because I knew, hell, we might wake up tomorrow, he'd be gone. I mean,
Right.
we never
Right.
knew if he was just going to leave on that bike. And I told Andrew to keep an eye on him. I said, if you see him loading them bags up, I said, let me know. I said, because if we're going to do this work and Steve's going to donate his time, the guy in Florida, I said, at least I want peace of mind knowing that, he's going to get what he came for. We're going to give him his stuff. And we were able to do it the week of so rally's coming. That room's rented for
Yeah.
top dollar.
Yeah.
And I said, dude, I said, what do you want to do? I said, I said, you've got your paperwork. Now you can go get a job. You can go apply for a loan. You'll get VA benefits. He was mid 40s. Yeah, mid 40s. But I say he had no family whatsoever. Um, so between the PTSD from the military and his wife getting killed in that drunk driver accident, I mean, how could you not
Right.
feel for the guy? So I thought, man, if I can just give him a little bit piece of a
Give him
mind
something. Yeah.
to get him through these times, and so uh, he said, take me to I can't even say it. It's spelled Wyckliff, Wickliffe, Kentucky. Is
Wycliffe.
it Wickliffe?
Mm-hmm.
He said, take me to Wickliffe, Kentucky, and I'll get out of y'all's hair. Because I mean, Andrew said, hey, you got
Got to
to
go. Yeah.
move to Moffitt's or somewhere. He said, but this room's been booked for a year, and so I'll never forget. It was 4th of July weekend, and I said, what in the world's in Wickliffe? I had to look on the map. I'd never even heard of it, and it was like an hour drive, hour and 30 minutes from my house. I said, he said there's a ferry, and it'll take me across the river, and I got some. Through the use of his phone, he had found his military buddies connected. I said, good. I said, because you need to be around some people.
Right.
Uh, and so we loaded up that morning, and I threw his bike and all his bags in the back of my truck, and we went to Wickliffe and dropped him off there, and I helped him get the bike out. And my God, he had I know 150 pounds on that bike. So you imagine, the steering and going up down them hills
Right.
of where he come from.
Boy's got some
My
calves and hams
God,
like no
man,
other.
and he's one of those people that didn't wear shorts, always wore long sleeve shirts, and the hottest part of the day. And I was like, and I said, man, I'll buy you a new bike when I take it to Wickliffe. I said, this damn thing here is worn out. He said, it's only 2 years old. And I'm like, yeah, but you put 20 years on it.
No
I
joke.
mean, my God.
Wonder how many thousands of miles that man's rode
Lord,
that bike.
Lord. I said, at least let me buy you 2 new tires. I said, those slicks ain't going to get you nowhere. And he was just like, no, no. I gave him the money anyway. I said, spend it on what you want to. And I still had his number, and I gave him about 2 or 3 weeks, and I tried to reach out to him. Never
Nothing.
heard nothing back from him. So I don't know if his phone was dead or whatever, but yeah, I hadn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was glad. I'm glad that Steve was able to help, and
Yeah, that's really
it all
cool.
come together. Like I say, I can only imagine if I had a family member, had that happen to them, and I'd want somebody to help them,
Somebody to kind of
because
give him a hand out.
it's as crazy as the story as it is. I mean, he was legit, and they dug through the paperwork and found the error and was able to.
Clear it up and get him
So
back on his,
yeah, that was
give him a fresh start.
yeah. I
Well,
miss him.
that's what you get when you deal with the UC gives back, man.
Uh-uh.
That's that's hard to do is give some of yourself, and it's one of the hardest things, but one of the easiest things you can do is
Yeah,
give a little bit of yourself
yeah.
back. And I'm glad you came out. Finally got a chance to get you in here and get you set down and
Appreciate you having
talk.
me. Yeah, it
Um,
worked out.
and you've got the dueling pianos coming up. Anything more exciting? Anything going on? Anything new?
Still, hopefully, here next time I see you, we should have that 501 accreditation.
Be
So,
nice. Good.
yeah, that's my biggest goal. Had a guy call me today. Um, said he could, be potentially a donor.
Good.
Said he's just gave $2,500 to Happy Pack. I said, well, next time you call me, he said I should have my 501, and I've turned down several people because these businesses, between Thanksgiving and Christmas, it's tax time, so they're
Right.
trying to unload their money, keep from paying taxes, and I've turned down big dollars last year. I said, man, I don't have my stuff yet,
Yeah.
and so I get frustrated, and hopefully we're going to find out here
It's
where it
knocking on
went
the door,
wrong.
man.
Yeah,
And that's I had Mr. Barrett on the list to get in here, so I'm gonna get Miss
yeah,
Janet, but I
yeah,
got to block
yeah,
off at least 8 hours.
yeah.
Oh shit.
She and we're gonna have to lean on her because she knows what I've been going through. When her and Jerry were setting up Happy Feet, she did say that it took them 2.5, 3 years
Yes,
that
sir.
they to get their 501c3,
Yeah.
and that's before COVID. She said, I said, yeah, but I haven't got a single thing from. I said, Steve filed it. uh, I said, I haven't got an email, not even a letter. I said, that letter didn't make it to Frankfurt. I said, because I hear people all the time say, yeah, I got a little, I got my financial guy. I called him one day and complaining about it. He said, man, he said, you know, he got, uh, they got one for their ball team. And he said, yeah, it didn't take us no time. He's like, it was pretty easy. But he said we did have a accountant on our board, and I said, well, yeah, I've got access to one too. But I said, but some people are getting it within 6 8 months, and I'm sitting here on 2 years. I'm like, man, and so hopefully now, uh,
The ball's rolling a little
yeah,
faster now.
we can.
Oh, good.
It's once I signed off on some paperwork last week, and it was scanned in. It was sent to his office in Frankfurt. So hopefully, but I still hadn't heard nothing from back at it from that either. So, but which they're I can only imagine what it's like to work in Frankfurt
Oh
and the
yeah.
stuff they
Yeah.
come across their desk every day. So, I I waited 2 years. I can wait another month.
Yeah. I
I
think I
say
waited 2 years for him to answer the phone one time up there in the
when you're dealing with
state. Yeah.
IRS, they're not gonna.
Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's
When you're,
well. So Scott, how can if somebody out there wants to volunteer, or wants to help, or wants to donate, where can they find you? How can they do that?
so we have an account at United Community. It stays there year round. They can always just go up to the drive-in window and donate it, or walk inside. That's where our account is. It's real easy. Or they can just reach out to me or one of our board members. Like say any donations. Like say we do it 12 months out of the year. Even though we try to limit to two. I mean, we'll do three, but you got four other board members that got
Right.
lives and jobs and kids and grandkids, and so it's not fair to ask them to do 4 and 5. I always thought if you do two good ones, that should be
Sufficient
sufficient. I
enough.
mean,
Yeah.
because
Absolutely.
you can't
Absolutely.
do one every 6 weeks. People are going to get tired of you.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
and you'll just wear yourself out. And uh, yeah, it's you just gotta, and hopefully when this 501 comes to a head, we won't have to beg for $100. We'll get the
You'll get
big,
those big
yeah,
prominent.
big checks,
Yeah.
and
It's easier. It's easier to.
they'll all we gotta do is mail out a flyer, and if we send out 100, if we get three of them, that
There you
might
go.
be 10,000 a piece,
Right.
and then I told the girls board members, I said, we won't have to do all these little things. We can just, you know,
Focus more on the
focus
other
more of
stuff.
that, and
Yeah.
then go and donate bigger and stuff. So,
Awesome.
like I say, it's It's coming. It's I'm excited for the 501. It's I don't everybody keeps telling me that the paperwork's like that thick that you got to
Yeah.
go through, and so Adam said he would help me, and he used to work for the IRS out of college before he was a farmer, so he was an auditor, so
Yeah, I've heard that story. Yeah.
and then so he knows the ins and outs. And Steve Arnett, he said I'll help you any way I can, and we'll sit down if you get bombarded, and so I think I'll have a good support.
I think you got a good support system now, and I think
Yeah,
you guys got a good thing
yeah,
going. And again, I appreciate you coming, and I appreciate everything you do, especially the organization, because I mean, you guys have helped a lot of people in the county and continue to do so. So if you want to, again, if you want to donate or you want to help or anything, you know, you got a Facebook page, UC Gives Back. Reach out to that, or reach out to Scott himself, or if you know somebody that's on the board, reach out to them. So, with that being said, my buddy Frenchie always says, y'all be good to each other.